Today, I did a presentation in Oak Ridge for the Altrusa Club, and I would like to share that here. And I'm going to do that by just going through the presentation, a portion, not all of it, just the portion about Oak Ridge future and also about the Wilcox K-25 Interpretive Center. So let me share my screen and we'll get this started. I started the presentation by talking about first this little puff of smoke up here above the presented to Altrusa. That is the Bull Run steam plant. And those smokestacks are no longer there. This photograph was made by a drone shot over the Oak Ridge National Laboratory looking east and northeast. And that's the Bull Run steam plant. And what I said was, this is now occupied by Type 1 Energy, which is a fusion energy research facility that's going to be using a stellarator to prove that you can produce energy using a fusion process that will capture the plasma. And I believe that that's going to be the energy source of our future. Now, I commented to them that for all of my career, working for 47 years at Y12 and watching some fusion research going on out there in some of the buildings, like Alpha 2, which is actually being demolished at this time, but it had a fusion research facility there, even had an Elmo Bumpy Taurus in there. And so I said to them that in my career, fusion energy had always been 30 years away. And I believe it's still 30 years away. But that's just mere speculation on my part. Those people who are working in fusion might dispute that and point out that they're going to get there sooner. And then I pointed out that the spallation neutron source is here up on top of Chestnut Ridge, and then across Chestnut Ridge in Bear Creek Valley is where the Y-12 National Security Complex is located. And then beyond that is the city of Oak Ridge on the south slope of Black Oak Ridge and in East Fork Valley. So that kind of set the stage for the area that we were going to be talking about, except it doesn't include any of the Horizon Center or the Heritage Center, where a lot of the new nuclear renaissance activity is taking place. And we will focus on that a little later in the presentation. In fact, we'll do it now. The East Tennessee Technology Park today, what it looks like today, all of those large buildings that had centrifuges in them here are gone. The K-25 building that was produced all of the highly enriched uranium that we have in nuclear weapons today, it's gone. The footprint is there, which is a part of the Manhattan Project National Historical Park. The K-25 Atomic History Center is located down here, as is the um, William J. Wilcox K-25 Interpretive Center. And then I pointed out this is where the K-33, K-31, K-27, K-29 buildings were, and they're all gone now. And there's about 20 companies that have located here in the Heritage Center of the East Tennessee Technology Park. So we're going to go into detail into some of those that are located there. I want to start by letting you see the introduction to the William J. Wilcox, K-25 Interpretive Center.
Building has opened up at K-25 Heritage Center in Oak Ridge. The William J. Wilcox Jr. K-25 Interpretive Center allows visitors to learn more about the K-25 plant and provides an overlook of where the building once stood. 10 News Anderson County reporter Emily Crabtree was at the center's grand opening today and has more.
Today, a ribbon cutting was held at the William J. Wilcox Interpretive Center on the K-25 Heritage Site in honor of the history that happened here on the property, but also in honor of the man who it's named after.
Bill was a good friend of mine. He was the first historian for the city of Oak Ridge, and he had the dream of how to interpret the K-25 gaseous diffusion plant. And I believe he would be very proud of what we've done here today.
The William J. Wilcox K-25 Interpretive Center is the latest addition to the K-25 Heritage Site.
This is the area where you can look upon the K-25 gaseous diffusion plant that was decommissioned and taken down. At one time, it was the largest building in the world.
The center provides a space for events and gatherings, but upstairs it allows for people to step into the past.
This building gives you the experience of actually seeing where that K-25 building was. And that's something that you can't see from the History Center. You can see pictures, but the real thing is here.
And even though many locals know the history of K-25 and its role in nuclear production, they say it's important to have museums and buildings like this in order to keep the history alive.
I still learn more today about what we did in the past, but those things that we did in the past contribute so much to what we do now. We can learn from our past and build on that, and I'm just really proud to be an Oak Ridger.
If you're looking to come and enjoy the Wilcox Interpretive Center, you can find it right next to the K-25 History Center on the K-25 property. Now, their hours are from 9 to 5 every single day, so come on and enjoy the history that it has to offer. Reporting in Oak Ridge, I'm Emily Crabtree.
Now, this site is just one of a number of museums and history centers in Oak Ridge. To find out more on historical spots, you can head to WBIR.com.
So that's the Wilcox K-25 Interpretive Center, located very near the K-25 Atomic History Center. Here's a drone shot that looks out over the history centers down here in the lower right. And then this is when the Interpretive Center was under construction, and you can see a good image of the footprint of the K-25 building there in that shot. Now, this is a model that's inside the Interpretive Center up on the second floor that gives you a bit of a perspective about the size of the building. These little automobiles or trucks parked in there give you some scale to see how large the building was. And this is a view that actually is looking out of the viewing platform where you're seeing that's the east wing of the K-25 building. The north tower would have been down there. And then this is the west wing of where the K-25 building actually stood. Now, it's going to be a while, maybe within the next year, we'll have the work completed on the footprint to the point that people can actually walk out there. And the Manhattan Project National Historical Park will provide a number of, I think about a dozen wayside markers that are going to tell the history at that location. So you'll be able to actually go out on the grounds and experience the history that way. I'm going to talk in a little bit about this building over here to your left, so just keep that in mind. We'll bring that up a little later on. I wanted them to understand that we're doing some improvements to Portal 4. Lawrence Young with Crowetts actually doing it. And we're going to have it as the entrance to the history complex there at the Heritage Center. And a part of what we're going to do is to move some railroad cars there. This particular one is one that was built to carry a miniature submarine out to Idaho for the Navy to do some experiments in that deep lake that's out there. Steelhead is what it was named. And the railroad car is still there that was used to transport that submarine that was actually built at the K-25 site. So we'll move it over next to Portal 4, and hopefully we're going to have some dining cars there and opportunity for serving dinner in the dining car, serving some food. And hopefully that there might be some consideration in the future to bring back the excursion train. We would like to do that if we can. But Portal 4 is going to be the main entrance into the history area in a few months. It will take a little while longer to do that. Now, I also wanted them to understand about the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity, a new facility that's been established in the Pollard building, Pollard Conference Center building in the main lobby there. This unique set of artifacts was created by Paul Frame. Paul worked at Oak Ridge Associated University for years, and he collected all of these devices and measuring equipment and examples of things that had something to do with radiation or radioactivity. And so this collection has been in existence for a number of years, but it was behind a limited area over at the South Campus of Oak Ridge Associated University, and Pam Boney has moved it over. She led the charge, she and some other folks moved a number of those artifacts over to the Pollard building so that they can be more readily accessible by the public. And you'll be amazed at the kind of exhibits that they have in these display cases that let you see things about radiation and radioactivity that you would not otherwise be able to see. Now, back to the new companies. You remember I talked about Type 1 Energy being out here at the Bull Run Steam Plant. And then I want you to notice that here at the Clinch River site is where TVA is going to build small modular reactors. And then Kairos Power, I'm going to talk about that in a minute and show you something of what they're doing. Nano nuclear is there. Standard nuclear is there. LES technology, Oklo, and then BWXT and TriSoX. Now, I'm not going to show about every one of these, but I'm going to give you some examples of some of the companies that are coming in, and Areno is here as well. And those will give you an idea of what this nuclear renaissance is like in Oak Ridge and the things that are coming, fast coming our way. So let's take a look first at Kairos Power, where this is an artist rendering of what the facility is going to look like over on the K33 and 31 site. This is an artist rendering of the Hermes low power reactor facility that will be built there. And let me see, this is what I wanted you to remember. This is the west wing of the K25 building, and I'm looking out of the viewing platform, and I'm able to see the Kairos Power building that they're building over on that site. So you'll be able to see it from the viewing platform. And this is the Hermes reactor construction that's going on over there at Kairos Power. Now, let's talk about TRISO-X.
For American-made nuclear reactors, Oak Ridge has seen a ton of new industry, but not all businesses are building reactors. Anderson County reporter Emily Crabtree spoke with one company that's fueling the nuclear energy.
It's no secret the nuclear industry is growing in Oak Ridge, but with so many nuclear reactors popping up, there has to be some way to fuel them, which is why TRISO-X is creating the first in the nation fuel fabrication facility.
We're making great progress here in Oak Ridge on land that was previously part of the DOE reservation.
Nuclear company TRISO-X is one of many companies making their mark on the K25 heritage site.
We're investing over $900 million in providing this fuel production capability here in East Tennessee, and it'll generate over 500 jobs with our first facility alone. We're already looking at building a second facility at the same location here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which will have twice the capacity and have over 1,000 jobs that are brought with that second facility.
Experts say this is a huge step closer to putting the U.S. back on top of the nuclear industry.
East Tennessee is where we're going to realize this and lead the country and then eventually the world in really demonstrating what we can do. And X Energy and TRISO-X are a key part of that landscape.
TRISO-X is also working with a newer form of fuel.
But it's far more efficient and it's far safer of a fuel system. That's allowed for our nuclear reactor design to be a much simpler design with passive safety systems, allowing for modular construction and quicker deployment out into the field.
And they're getting support from others.
Everybody in the industry is very much rooting for X Energy as well as all of the advanced nuclear companies, and just looking for opportunities to accelerate that timescale while not cutting any corners in terms of safety.
For now, the facility will fuel the nation's first commercial-scale small modular reactor out of Seadrift, Texas. But the company says they're very excited for what the future holds. Now, I'll send things back to you.
TRISO-X also says they have awarded a $48 million contract to Clark Construction to build that first facility. They say construction will hopefully begin sometime next month.
This is the construction site. A lot of dirt being turned there, but they're making tremendous progress. Now, the next one I want you to see is Orano. And as the governor was here speaking about the multi-billion-dollar investment and 300 jobs. Now, remember, we've talked about 500 jobs, now 300 jobs. So keep that in mind. And let's watch this together.
The U.S. is watching what's happening right here in Tennessee, right here in Oak Ridge. We have about $15 billion worth of CapEx projects in the queue, over 2,000 jobs. And these are companies that we're talking to right now. It was already happening because of Oak Ridge, but because of Orano's decision to come here, that's really opened up a lot of conversations.
The nuclear renaissance has begun. America is going to lead in that renaissance. There is no conversation in this country that has to do with energy independence, national security, energy dominance that doesn't include nuclear energy.
America needs more and new nuclear power. The world needs more and new nuclear power. New nuclear power needs Tennessee and Project ARC in Oak Ridge. Our team members of Orano in this new office are developing the next generation enrichment facility that will provide significant quantity of enriched uranium to fuel not just reactors, but the future, powering new technologies that will define the next century.
Because of what we have with Oak Ridge and with TVA, there is no excuse for us not to lead the way and to really chart that path as how we move forward with SMRs, how we move forward with micro reactors.
We are so very proud that Tennessee continues to play a central role in shaping the future of domestic nuclear energy.
This is our opportunity to step up and win for new nuclear, to win for our nation. But it's an opportunity. We need to hit a home run. And I know with the team here today, we will get it done.
Okay, now let's look at BWXT. This is the area that they are occupying in the Horizon Center. And amazingly, they are already building a large building there. And it's amazing how large that structure is and how quickly they have built it just over the last few weeks. And if you know anything about this type of construction, you see these large concrete slabs. They're prefabricated slabs that are placed up to build the building. So their contract is $1.5 billion, and they will be working to establish a domestic uranium enrichment capability for defense purposes. So another large investment in our area. And this one is Oklo. Again, notice all the people that are here for the announcement of $1.68 billion and 800 new jobs coming in. And this is the chief executive officer here, standing by the governor, and all of the other folks that were there for the announcement at the William J. Wilcox Jr. K-25 Interpretive Center.
Turning waste into gigawatts. Oklo announcing yesterday it's investing nearly $1.7 billion toward plans to open a first-of-its-kind nuclear waste recycling facility. The Tennessee site expected to begin production by the 2030s. Joining us now first on CNBC is Oklo CEO Jacob DeWitt. Jake, it's great to have you. This is very technical, so explain to us what this is.
It's exciting to me about nuclear technology because nuclear reactors really only use about 5% or so of the fuel that gets loaded in them in its time in a reactor. And the reason is because, you have to have a minimum amount of fuel to keep the reactor running. That means that used fuel that gets discharged from a reactor is actually 90 to 95% like remaining unused fuel. And one of the really exciting things about what we've been at since the beginning of our company has been working on next generation reactors called fast reactors that can actually really efficiently recycle and access that remaining 90 to 95%. What that translates to is effectively taking today's waste inventories, which with recycling and fast reactors have the same amount of energy as about 1.2 to 1.3 trillion barrels of oil. It's insane, right? That's like close to global oil reserves. So massive opportunity to do this.
So the upshot is that we just get a lot more power, which we need?
We get more power, and the cool thing too is it can be done more cost effectively than using fresh fuel because the fuel is kind of already in a good spot to be able to reuse through recycling. So yeah, more power and cheaper, which is pretty top of mind for everybody today.
Are the other nuclear players doing this?
There are a few. This is one of the things that was kind of envisioned by those folks coming out of the Manhattan Project, right? Some of the great minds like Enrico Fermi and others saw this potential to better use fuel by recycling it, by closing the fuel cycle, as some people say. And the technology's progressed a lot since then and really kind of culminated in the US to be commercially ready and viable in the 80s and 90s. And so we started partnering up with the national labs back a couple of years ago with the Department of Energy to start commercializing this. And we went through a site selection process and found a wonderful home to put this in East Tennessee. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be frankly a game changer for frankly, not just nuclear, but for energy as a whole. And yeah, there are other companies looking at this, which is exciting because the space is so big. When you talk about global oil reserves, that size of an energy market just in the US alone, there's room for a couple people to be in it for sure.
I guess, so we've been following you and all this incremental news and all these big plans and these steps as you get into the reality of setting up these nuclear reactors. So talk us through the time frame of this combined with everything else that you're doing. I ask you this every time, but I guess that's the key question for investors and also for all of us that are waiting for this power.
Exactly. So, we're moving full speed ahead with getting our first plant built up in Idaho. We have fuel for that plant, which is great. We're one of the only companies that actually has, fuel ready for a new build. And that's actually produced, by the way, from this kind of recycling technology, just at a smaller scale that was developed out there. So that's pretty cool. So that will power that first plant. What this recycling announcement is about is actually opening the door for fuel for follow-on plants. So that's one of the biggest bottlenecks to building a lot more power more quickly. So kind of turning waste not just into watts, but waste into gigawatts. This is a huge unlock to be able to do that. So the facility we're investing in here will be able to support several gigawatts of new power plants being built by us from fuel supplies, because that is the bottleneck, as well as taking a multi-pronged approach, working with the enrichers on that side of the equation, as well as some really cool things the United States government is doing to make excess legacy materials available to build more reactors sooner and bring them online faster. So, we're targeting that first plant in Idaho, producing power 2027. There's some recent actions, right, by the government to accelerate things. We're excited about what those are looking like. And we're hopeful that, those are going to lead to, frankly, moving all of these timescales to the left, not just for the first plant, but for more plants after that.
Jake, I'm just looking at that map again. Idaho, I see Illinois, we're talking Tennessee. Are there running themes that go into site selection?
There are. It's interesting having run this process and talking to a number of states. There's been a lot of enthusiasm, not just about what we're doing here, but just around nuclear as a whole. But there are certain states that are definitely in a position to just lead and have more to bring to bear. And Tennessee is a perfect example of this. Oak Ridge National Lab here is a kind of a stalwart place. I'm actually at, Roane State Community College talking to you guys today on the heels of the announcement yesterday. The workforce, the ecosystem that's here, that's being developed here, is why us, as well as others, have sort of planted roots to build out infrastructure. It's a very attractive state to do this in. But at the end of the day, what we're building is something that's nationwide, and at the end of the day, even bigger than that. And so, it's a great place to start building infrastructure in these states, but we see opportunities in a number of places that span outward. But there are definitely early adopting states that are just going to move faster, like Idaho, like Tennessee, like Ohio, some of those.
This is a look at their design for the new facility that will be built in Oak Ridge. I also wanted them to know that we've got this opportunity coming our way where we're going to have a submarine sale. The USS Houston sale is probably going to arrive in Oak Ridge somewhere in late 2026. We are the birth of the nuclear Navy, and that's what we want to recognize. And this is where we're going to put it, in A.K. Bissell Park, right near where the Secret City Commemorative Walk is, and the municipal building is up there on the hill. And it'll be located right in that spot where you'll be able to see it from the turnpike and see it from Tulane as well. Then I stopped and asked them if there were any questions that they had, and they had a lot of good questions about the future of Oak Ridge. I saw a lot of excitement in their responses to the presentation, and was glad to do that, glad to be able to bring some information that they might not have noticed when it was on TV, or might not have had the opportunity to see the new buildings going up and the actual construction that's taking place, the clearing of land, and all of the new facilities. If Oak Ridge only gets a portion of those, and I'm hoping that all of them come through, but if you just think about just a portion of them, it's going to make a major difference in Oak Ridge. I think we're right on the edge of another Manhattan Project 2.0 effort to get that energy needed for data centers. And I just noticed that there's an RFP out from the Department of Energy for two artificial intelligence data centers to be located in Oak Ridge. So the power to supply those data centers is going to be a huge change in the electricity needs for the nation. And I believe Oak Ridge is the epicenter of where that nuclear renaissance is going to take place. Thank you for letting me show you the presentation that I made today to a group of people in Oak Ridge that I believe are excited about what's coming our way in the way of new nuclear and the nuclear renaissance.